For decades, the US dollar has been the world's reserve currency, shaping global finance. After World War II, the US emerged as the economic powerhouse, and at Bretton Woods in 1944, world leaders pegged their currencies to the dollar, itself backed by gold. This made the dollar the backbone of international trade and finance. Central banks everywhere held dollars, fueling constant demand and giving the US unique power. The US could borrow cheaply and use the dollar as a tool of foreign policy, imposing sanctions and influencing global affairs. Even after the gold standard ended in 1971, the dollar's dominance continued, thanks to the size and stability of US financial markets. Most global commodities, oil, coffee, electronics, were priced in dollars, making it the default currency for trade. But today the world is changing. New economic powers are rising, questioning the old order. The dominance of a single currency is being challenged as never before. While the dollar remains king, its throne is less secure. The 21st century may see the end of the dollar's unquestioned rule. The foundation of global finance is shifting. The era of a single financial superpower may be fading. The world is moving toward a more complex multipolar system. The story of the dollar's reign is entering a new chapter. Enter BRICS+, a coalition of emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, Egypt, and Ethiopia. Together, they represent a massive share of global population, GDP, and natural resources. Their goal to gain a greater voice in a world long dominated by the West. They see dependence on the US dollar as a vulnerability. BRICS+ is pushing for trade in local currencies and building a financial system less tied to Washington. This isn't just talk. India buys Russian oil in rupees, China pays for energy in yuan. The new development bank offers an alternative to the IMF and World Bank. Each transaction outside the dollar chips away at its dominance. BRICS+ signals a shift from a unipolar to a multipolar world. It's not a military alliance, but a coalition for a more balanced global order. Their economic cooperation is changing the rules of global finance. The rise of BRICS+ is fundamentally altering the world's financial architecture. The old order is being challenged from within. For decades, oil, the world's most important commodity, was priced in US dollars, creating the petrodollar system. This arrangement, born in the 1970s, cemented the dollar's supremacy. But now, the system is cracking. China, the world's top oil importer, wants to pay in yuan. In 2018, China launched yuan-priced oil contracts, giving producers a way to bypass the dollar. Russia now sells oil to China and India in yuan and rupees, sidestepping Western sanctions. Even Saudi Arabia is considering accepting yuan for oil sales to China. If more oil trades in other currencies, global demand for dollars will fall. This could weaken the dollar's value and raise US borrowing costs. The shift from petrodollars to a multi-currency oil market is historic. It challenges the very heart of the dollar's power. Energy and finance are no longer dominated by a single nation. The rules of global trade are being rewritten. The global financial system has long relied on SWIFT, a network for international payments. Control over SWIFT has given the US and its allies powerful leverage. Cutting countries off is a form of sanctions. In response, nations like China, Russia, and India have built their own payment systems: CIPS, SPFS, and UPI. These systems are now being linked, creating a web of payment channels that bypass SWIFT and the dollar. When Russia was cut off from SWIFT, it turned to its own and China's networks to keep trading. BRICS+ is working to connect these systems, enabling direct trade in local currencies. This rewiring of global finance reduces the effectiveness of US sanctions. Countries can now trade outside the dollar system, lessening American influence. The rise of alternative payment networks is a quiet revolution. It empowers nations to challenge the existing order. The financial world is moving toward multiple competing networks. The monopoly of the dollar is fading. For decades, the IMF and World Bank, both based in Washington, set the rules for global finance. But their policies often favored Western interests, drawing criticism from developing nations. The new development bank created by BRICS offers an alternative, funding projects and lending in local currencies. This shift reduces countries' reliance on the dollar and US leverage. As more nations trade and borrow in their own currencies, American influence wanes. The world isn't replacing the dollar overnight. US markets remain deep and stable. But we're moving toward a multipolar currency world. The dollar may still lead, but it will share the stage with the yuan, euro, and others. The era of a single financial superpower is ending. Power is becoming more distributed. The rules of global finance are being rewritten. The only question, what comes next?